This assembly video is designed as an additional visual aid to be used in conjunction with the written instructions to help you successfully complete this kit. Dura-Craft Incorporated is an industry leader in the manufacture and sales of dollhouse kits because of our unique design features. We offer a selection of precision die cut as well as molded pine, tongue and groove, clapboard siding houses. All of our dollhouses are fully framed with molded pine corner posts, and all the edges are trimmed with pine molding for easy assembly and to add strength and beauty. Additional enhancements in many of our houses include working windows and doors, hardwood floors, brick and stonework, split redwood shakes, gutters and downspouts, and fancy silkscreen windows. Dura-Craft's commitment to quality and customer satisfaction is most evident in our warranty. Dura-Craft will replace missing or damaged parts no matter whose fault the damage was, even if it was because of customer error. We also offer unlimited online telephone assembly consultation to assure a completed house. If you require assembly help beyond the instructions and the video, feel free to call Dura-Craft customer service at 503-538-3136. Thank you for purchasing a Dura-Craft Incorporated dollhouse.
Hi, I'm Tony Velarde, and I'll be guiding you through construction of the Linfield miniature house by Dura-Craft. I've been designing Dura-Craft's products since 1990, and I think this is probably one of the more straightforward houses that we put out. This video is to be used in conjunction with the written instructions, so I suggest that you read the instructions fully, watch the video, and check that all your parts and supplies such as glue and tape are at hand before you start construction. The quality of the finished product will be a result of how much time and care you put in to the craftsmanship on building this. So just take your time and enjoy yourself. Let's get started. In the kit, I've supplied a template for a miter block. Go ahead and cut this out. It's in the back of the instructions. And fold it at the two fold lines. Construct this out of 2 pieces of 7-inch and 1 piece of 5-inch. It's about 7/8 by 5/16 stock. Glue the paper template onto the block. We're not going to cut on those lines. Those lines are purely for measurement and getting the proper angle. We'll cut over past that edge there, and I'll show you. Let's say we want to have a 60-degree angle. Then we can mark the top edge there and the bottom edge at the corresponding line. And we'll turn our block around. Line up the saw blade. We'll draw a pencil line across, it would be easier. And make our blade the same angle. All of the angles required for this house are drawn on this miter block. I find that it's easier to paint the house before assembly as opposed to afterwards, because if it was assembled, it'd be difficult to paint one piece of trim different from the wall without getting it on the wall. But one of the problems is painting it that way is you don't know which parts go where. So go through the die boards using the illustrations in the back of the instructions and put a label on each of the parts on the die boards. It'll help you become more familiar with the pieces. When you're painting a part, then you need to leave 1/8 of an inch from the edges that will go into a corner post of non-painted surface, because you want a wood-to-wood glue bond. We need to connect the base floor front to the base floor back. To do that, you tape the good sides up, turn it over, and add glue to the base floor splice. tape that in position. To assemble the base floor, put the base floor good side down, run a piece of tape off of each of the notches. I've already added 4 of the base floor walls. I'm going to add the last one, interlock the tab with the notch, put the tape up onto it. Do not glue the corners together because corner posts are going to go through there. Next, let's install the base floor support. Just slide that in, they interlock together. You notice this one sits right on top of the base floor splices, so everything when you're done should be flush. This will be about 1/4 of an inch back from the end of that wall so that a corner post will have enough wood to put the groove in. I've painted the base walls the color that I want my mortar lines to be that will show through the stones. Now I'm going to peel the stone pattern stencil webbing off of the tape. I will apply flush with the bottom. Press it down firmly so that the mortar mix does not seep through underneath. Now I'm adding tape to the top 1/2 inch section of the base wall because, as you can see on the finished model, we have 5/155 and it takes up the top 1/2 inch piece, and it's easier to glue it on wood to wood than over the top of the stones. I've mixed up my stone mix to about the consistency of cake frosting. It starts to hold its own shape. I've put wax paper down on the surface to protect from the stone mix getting onto it. Now I'm going to add my stone mix to about 1/16 of an inch thick. Spread it evenly. Once that's done, I will peel off the template and peel off the tape. All right, now we're going to do the hardwood flooring, and I have made a little paper skirt to go all the way around the edge. That will keep the varnish from the hardwood flooring to running on the stonework. Now, according to the instructions of the contact cement, which is, I like to use a neoprene base with lower odor, water cleanup. You're supposed to apply the cement to the floor and to the strips and let them dry, and then we'll press them in place, and you better be right the first time because it doesn't like to peel up. And we'll just work all the way down to the front and leave a little bit over the front edge because I want it to be going over the 155. And we'll offset the joints. Here's a joint, and here, so that we don't have them all lined up in one spot. After we've laid the flooring down, we can punch each side of the cracks for a pegged appearance with a flattened nail or a nail set. And then burnish down all of the flooring so that it has a good contact all the way down. After we've done burnishing, we'll varnish it, and I like to use an environmentally friendly, low odor water cleanup varnish. Now we're at the underside of the base floor. We have the hardwood flooring that's covering the slot. We need to cut that away from the underside so that the room partition can protrude through. And there's 2 slots and an anchoring post hole, and we'll leave 1/8 of an inch overlapping the anchoring post hole. We'll trace the anchor post and trim later. Now it's time to install the 2nd and 3rd floor supports. But to do this, we put the 546 just underneath the slots in the floors. The first one for the 2nd floor support is 8.5 inches to the top edge of the 546, then up another 8 5/8 for the 3rd floor support. Did on all the walls shown in the figure. As you can see, we left an 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch reveal from the end of the 546 to the edge of the wall. That's so that the corner post groove will fit over. without hitting the floor support. Now I have here the left top bay wall and the left front wall. I'm going to turn those over and install the balcony floor supports in exactly the same location on the good side of the board, which is the outsides, leaving a reveal on each edge. If you plan to wallpaper, even if you're planning just to paint, reference figure 7 for information on which parts will be exposed to the insides of the same rooms. For wallpapering, I like to use a glue stick, although some wallpapers have adhesive backing. And I spread the glue all over the wall and on the bottom and front or facing edge of the floor support. Let's pretend this is a piece of very expensive wallpaper. I'll make it flush along the bottom edge, press it down well, crease it right underneath there. I spread the wallpaper clear up to the floor support and along the face, but I don't have any on the top because I want the floor to glue to a wood surface, which is the top of the floor support. On this particular wall, which is the left side wall, we want to go ahead and instead of just cutting out this whole, the complete hole, we want to cut it down the middle and along the bottom and top, because this will then fold over the wall inside the window box. Do that on both sides. We're going to assemble some long frame pieces for the assembly of the walls. The first is D. I have a piece of 570 with the groove facing away from the camera, and that will go glued to the front of the right side wall. And I have a 15.5-inch piece of S576 with the groove facing to the left front. That will receive the right bay walls. Then I have a 4-inch piece of 570 which glues back to back with the groove facing forward, which will receive the right overhang wall. In figure 8, this is subassembly D, the two 570s back to back and the 576. This is subassembly E, and this is F, and these are merely two pieces of 576 with the beveled edges glued together. And the next one is G, and it's a 576 on the bottom there with a 570 glued with the grooved edge of the 570 flush with the point on the beveled edge. In figure 10, we're going to install the left side wall. First, insert the S52 into the corner, the left rear corner of the building, glue in the grooves, tape into position. Make sure that the base walls are fully seated into the groove. You might put a couple pieces of tape on there. And then we want to bead a glue along the edge of the left wall. Insert it into the post. Glue along underneath the floor to the base. And to the front edge of that wall, glue a 16-inch piece of S52. When these are dry, then take the saw and cut the tops of the posts to the same angle as the gable. Now we'll install the left front wall and glue the left edge of that wall into the corner post at location B, but I won't glue the bottom edge of the wall yet. Then at either side of the left gable, I'll put some scrap pieces from the previous wall corner posts, and I'll cut those after they've dried. The grooves are facing the back. Figure 12 shows the right side wall installation. First of all, we'll put in a 24-inch piece of S52, put in the right side wall. glue that in position. Next, we'll put in long frame assembly D. This one I've already happened to cut the angle off of. Otherwise, you'd normally cut that after it's dry. I've installed corner post E. I'm going to add glue to about the first 1.5 inches in the grooves on the right bay at the bottom. Slide down the right bay bottom wall. Insert the right bay top wall with the second floor support inside so that the wall is flush with the top of the posts. Next, I'll install the front bay bottom wall and corner post F. And then slide down the top front bay bottom wall, gluing everything and taping everything firmly in place. For the left bay wall, first dry fit the bottom wall. Install corner post G without any glue. When the left front wall and the left bottom bay wall are fully seated into the corner post G, then trace that outline onto the hardwood flooring. Remove these pieces, cut the hole on the inside of your trace line, and then reinstall the bay bottom wall. Push the long frame assembly G clear down until it hits the floor, and that should make the top of it right at the bottom of this notch. And then install the left bay top wall, and you're done. Install corner post H and I to the left and right sides of the top front bay wall, and then install the left overhang wall by interlocking the back edge and inserting the front edge into that corner post that you just installed. Install the other overhang wall. Now let's assemble the second floor. You'll notice there are two beveled points on the front edge of the second floor. Well, that's where these points go. So line them up, tape it in place, just like the base floor. Turn it over. Glue the splice into place. Tape it. And we're done. Insert the first floor room partition in place, and this will give you, it needs to slide in the double tab and slide towards the front of the house. Well, now that you have the orientation properly, go ahead and wallpaper each side of that or paint it accordingly with the rest of the walls in that room. Then reinsert it in place. And we'll run a bead of glue along all the top edge of the second floor supports. And we will set the second floor in place, interlocking the tabs off the floor with the slots in the walls. And to make sure that there's a tight fit, I like to run a piece of tape inside, tape it to the wall, and glue it down. Do it out on all the tabs. Once that's done, simply straighten the room partition and it will fit into the notch, the frontmost notch on the second floor. Do the same thing with the third floor. Assemble the third floor and then insert it with the second floor room partition. Let's assemble the right front gable decoration. I've gathered all the parts and you see the bottom edge is flush. I'm going to make a triangle. Just slide it over, glue the top and the bottom. Line up the diamonds inside. Once that is dry, I'm going to bead a glue just on the inside edge of the inside triangle and along the center. And set it on, center it up. After that's dry, drop in the sunbursts. Glue those in place. And you're done with that. I've continued the assembly of the gable decorations until I have both sides, the right front and the left front, which is this one. I've glued it into the left front gable roofs flush with the front edge. The way I did is I set this down and interlocked the tops of the roof and slid it in and glued it in place. I've glued the right front gable decoration roof assembly and the left front gable decoration roof assembly to the front roof so that they are flush on the top edge of the roof, the edge of the that the lines are on, so that the underside is flush with the opening on both of them. Then I glued the side gable decorations to the front and the back roof flush on the outside. Did both sides of that. Now let's dry fit the roof assembly onto the roof. It should center itself in the peaks of the gables. And take a pencil and trace on the front roof all along the edge where the third floor meets that. That will tell me when I lift this off just how far to put that wallpaper down to match with the third floor, and below that line will match with the second floor. Go ahead and wallpaper that. Install the third floor room partition to get the center line for the room wallpaper differences. Once this roof has been reinstalled, there are some small triangles that are the left and right side walls of the left front gable. Those insert into the corner post and rest on top of the front wall. To assemble the window box, we start with the window box outer wall, good side down. We cut out the window glass for the window box and center that with the whitest side down. That's the side that the ink is on, and glue it in place. We run a bead of glue along the underside of this window box window frame, and we let that dry. Then we'll turn it over, measure 1/4 inch back from the whole opening, and then install the 5/158. It should make that flush with the outer edges, and then 5/155 top and bottom. That should give a 1/4 inch reveal all the way around. To finish assembling the window box, simply interlock the side walls into the edge of the outer wall, install the seat, and interlock these with the left side wall. Then you would add the 2 extra brackets underneath, install the window box gable decoration into the 2 front roofs, and install those onto the window box with the back edge up against the wall. We're going to make a slider frame sandwich assembly. First of all, put the slider good side down. You can tell it's a slider because it has wider edges that will fit inside the grooves. Put the glass in, glue it in place, and then place the frame on top of that. Glue that in place. You'll notice there's an 1/8 of an inch overhang of the slider past the frame edges. All right, now you'll notice there's different glass between the top and the bottom. I've installed these into the slider molding. First thing I will do is put the sill in and then install the slider assembly. Do that on the other slider assembly on the left bay, and when we get done we'll put 5155 on the top and the bottoms after I show you how to do this one. To assemble the bay front window, I will set one of the frames for the bay front window good side down, glue the glass centered on top of that, and then put the other identical frame, glue that in place, install the two molding pieces for the sides of that, and then over on the bay front, install the sill, and insert the window assembly. It's best if that assembly is dry first. And that is supposed to have play side to side. So just center it and glue the molding pieces to the corner posts. Now let's install the deco wall plates. And if you have installed the top bay walls fully into the corner post grooves, this should fit just right between the posts. And the same way with the front deco wall plate. Should fit right in between there. And use the scrap, which is this O type of a piece of waste, as a centering mechanism for placing the centerpiece of the deco plate. Or just make sure, just measure all 4 edges, and that should give you the right dimensions. I've pre-measured by measuring the distance between the corner of this corner post to the corner here, and also corner to corner. And I've got an assembly of 5155, and they don't have to glue them together. You can just glue them underneath. But I went ahead and just glued it to the underside of the window and to the top of the window. I've glued the left wall window glass into the inside frame, and now I'll glue it to the inside part of the wall. Next, I'll measure over a 1/4 inch all the way around to give it a 1/4 inch reveal. I'll glue a 5.5 inch piece of 5152 or 5155 centered underneath the window. 2 pieces 5 1/16 inches long of 5158, and then on top of that a 10 3/4 inch piece of 5155 that is beveled at the right edge to match the 5155 over the bay window. As you can see, I've assembled the front door assembly with the inserts and the glass, and I've already rounded the bottom pivot pin to fit into the bottom pivot plate. But the top pivot pin is still square and won't fit into the round hole on the top pivot plate. So using sandpaper, I will lightly sand the 4 corners of the pin so that it will snugly fit into the round hole of the top pivot plate. I don't want to do too much or it'll be sloppy. Once that's done, I will tape the 5157 to each side of the door. But on this edge, I'll probably want to round both inside and outside of the door to ensure smooth operation.
Once I have both pieces of molding taped into place, I'll simply press the whole assembly into the front left wall. I've built two swinging window frame assemblies, installed them into the top and bottom pivot plate, and I'll just press them into the wall. I've glued the glass into the transom frame, glue that right on top. I would glue the 5157 into either side of the swinging window, and a piece of 5155 on the top. As in figure 32, I've installed the S576 to the edges of the balcony floor and the two floor support or roof supports to the balcony floor. I've also installed the roof supports to the underside of the balcony roof. This is how it sits. The long edge is glued flush with the opening. I will now install a piece of S52 in location J, which is the front left corner. Next, I'll install the balcony floor and glue to the top of the post, and then glue the balcony roof in place. I'll now install the French door just as with the swinging windows and install the 5157 on either side of that. Of course, gluing everything in position. Now we'll install the French door transom and molding piece. First, I asked you to assemble a pair of railing pieces. Then I asked you to make a 6-pair assembly. Now you can either make it with, whichever you want to do it first. It'll look a little bit different depending on which one you put first. And then cut the 570 pieces, cap the top and bottom edges until you get the railing piece assembled. I'm going to install the porch railing and the 5-159 and the pre-assembled porch header right on top. And then I'll do the side. As in figure 38, we're assembling the staircase assembly in the corner of a drawer. First we put the two supports in and then glued all of the risers in place. And then we're adding the treads. The treads will overhang the left edge 1/8 of an inch and be flush on the other side. To install roof shakes, I run beaded glue or two and put the top edge of the shakes flush with the lines that we drew earlier. Then go ahead and just run it right off the edge. After the shakes are dry, then we can come back and trim flush with the edge of the roof. Then add another bead of glue along the top edge of the previous and just under the line, and offset by half. See, the center of this is over the crack on the ones below. And then just continue this all the way up the roof until you're done. To install the gutters, run a bead of glue along the top edge and install it right up against the roof bottom and the underside of the shakes. For an end cap, take a piece of hardwood flooring and glue it to the end. And when it dries, trim it around it with a utility knife, and you've got a clean end cap.
Well, after installing the final trim pieces, congratulations are in order. You successfully completed the Linfield Dura-Craft dollhouse. I hope you've enjoyed assembling the kit as much as you will enjoy the final product in the years to come. Thank you for buying a Dura-Craft product, and I'll see you in the next video.